So yeah, so what we're doing today is, we're going to do remote surgery. So I'm going to be controlling the robot with this foot pedal here. And Ani down in Austin has done the surgical exposure. And I'm going to be talking to him about the kind of the surgery part of it. So he's my eyes, ears, and hands in Austin, but I'm going to be controlling the robot remotely. And this is the same foot pedal that we will use in the operating room. So I've
There we
got
go.
that. So I've got it set to live on the robot. So I'm going to start moving it. That's me. That's in real time. I mean, it's like, from what I can see, it's basically like I'm standing in front of the robot. Okay, ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to move the robot again. And again, I mean, to me, it's like I'm attached and hardwired to the robot. And now I'm going to go to what's called home. Let's see how that goes. So I'm going to click home, and this will bring the robot to what we call the home kind of safe position. Beautiful.
Yeah, so everybody can see it's basically nearly almost instantaneous response time, and we're again 2,000 miles away. Doug is fully in control of the robotic system.
Yeah. Okay, you want to introduce everybody down in Austin?
Yeah, let's meet the team.
Like you said, we are all in Austin. We are in our cadaver lab at Monogram. Here we have our staff clinical engineer, Ani, who would be like the Doug you mentioned, who would be your hands and eyes here and help you together perform the surgery. We have the tracking setup over there, and the tracker tracks all these different components and the leg and femur and tibia of the patient. And then we also have the station through which Doug can plan a procedure, and with the help of Ani, together can perform the surgery.
Yeah, are we good on the planning
Okay,
screen?
yeah, there we are.
Good.
So we're on the planning screen.
Okay, so from here, I can make all the tweaks and do like an initial plan. And that's kind of how I would normally do a robotic surgery is, I'll just kind of based on the way I do a knee. I do something called kinematic or anatomic alignment, where I'm really trying to restore their anatomy to pre-arthritis.
So this is really where you start to see the value of robotics, right? You can virtually place an implant with just an incredible amount of precision.
And I can go and I can surface match with this, which for certain techniques is really critical. So like, watch this, and I can go to a CT view, and now I can actually surface match so that, let's look at, this is a side view of the tibia. So I can actually say this blue is a representation of the tibial implant. And so I can line that up so that it's basically matching the surface anatomy. So here's the insert that I'll put on there. Let's see if I can, there we go. So I can actually line this up so that it roughly matches the patient's native anatomy, which gets close to kind of that restoration of kind of that patient's specific anatomy. And this system allows you to do that type of thing because you're looking at their actual anatomy. This is a CT scan of this specimen that we're working on. So it really adds functionality that a lot of the systems out there, really most of the systems out there that are imageless, which are not based on patient's actual 3D imaging, you just can't do this kind of thing. So we haven't touched the patient yet, but this is kind of my initial plan. I think it's a pretty good plan. I'm ready to start talking to Ani if
yeah, go for it. So the next step is registration. So this is where we have the patient's CT scan, and if you could see, there's what look like two antennas that are coming off the femur and the tibia. So what we have to do is tell the computer how those antennas that our tracking camera can see, how they're oriented with respect to the bone. So we do that via a process called bone registration. So we're going to start with the femur, and we're going to get this checkpoint, and everything in the Monogram system is about safety. So the checkpoint is really kind of a check position to just make sure that everything's where it needs to be throughout the procedure. So we'll start with that.
Okay, Ani, you ready to roll?
Yes, sir.
Now, one thing, just before we start going, so Ani, he's done this exposure. So you've got everything tight. You've got 2-pin fixation on each bone, so they're rigidly fixed. You check the tightness. You've got your checkpoints in there in both bones,
Yes, both of them.
and you got retractors set where you want them.
Yes, I have
Basically,
one on the
patellar
lateral side.
tendon. For now, we'll put another one in later.
For those of you who don't know, Ani is not an orthopedic surgeon, but he's almost one at this point.
I mean, he's done more knee replacements than any of my residents have at this point. So, so Ani, let's go ahead and do our femoral checkpoint.
All right, sounds good. So I'm going to have my probe put into the divot on the checkpoint and go. Okay, awesome.
Okay, so I got it from here in New York. I clicked and collected that point.
That was pretty
Okay,
interesting.
now we're going to do our initial alignment. And this is an augmented reality function. So Ani's lining that up to match the native anatomy of the shaft of the femur and where he thinks the hip is.
So as far as we know, we're going to be one of the first companies to really combine augmented reality with surgical robotics to make the workflow more efficient. So it looks like we got a nice initial alignment, and now we're going to start capturing our points.
Okay, Ani, we're ready to go.
Could we clear the last point, Doug?
Do what
Clear-
now?
Clear the last 2 points.
Clear the last 2 points?
Yes. Can? Yes.
Okay, you're
Awesome.
clear.
Okay, I'm gonna be ready for registration on my call. Okay.
Okay,
Awesome. Okay. On to the third point. Okay. Go ahead. Okay. Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay, on to the tibial femur shaft. Okay. 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 Try that again. Awesome. Okay. Try that again. Awesome.
okay, you're good. You're good, Ani. Great. So you got that in 12 points.
So now we know where that femur is in space because we're tracking that array, and we now know how that array is oriented with respect to the bone. And we know what the bone looks like because we have the CT.
Yep. And that initial step of using augmented reality allows us to collect far fewer points because it gets us roughly in the area, and then the points just help us refine the position. I mean, in layman's terms.
How much user skill would you say was involved in that?
I mean, not much. It's pretty easy to eyeball that, and like most systems out there collect a minimum of 40 points per bone. You know, you're looking for us like 10 to 12 points, so it's a lot fewer points. It just speeds things up a little bit.
Sure.
So that's great. Ani, let's go on to the tibia.
Okay.
So ready for tibial checkpoint? So I'm kind of advancing to the
Sure.
next screen.
So Cameron, while we're doing this, just a quick point. How did you make the latency what it is? I mean, it's incredibly impressive.
Well, we're using the state-of-the-art technology. We are using the best inter-process communication protocols out there, and we have tweaked it and optimized it to our needs.
Say the word.
Okay, I'm on the tibial checkpoint. Go ahead.
Okay.
So now we're doing exactly what we did on the femur. We're going to do it on the tibia. So
Okay, so tibial alignment.
we're now going to register the position of the tibia.
Okay.
And I'm going to flip the bone, Ani. Okay, you're good. Tell me when you like it.
Yeah, this looks good to me. Go ahead.
That looks good. I got it. Ready?
Yes, capture. 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 Let's go posterior medial. Capture. Plateau. Capture. Okay. Capture. 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 Excellent. Capture. Okay, capture. Ah, awesome.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, there we go.
Good job, guys.
So now we know where the femur is, or the tibia, sorry.
Okay. So, should we go to planning, Ani? Okay, hold on. Okay, I got it. So what we're looking at here, and Ani can also talk about what he's seeing. This is Ani's gonna stress the knee, and we're gonna register what the soft tissue tension is, and then adjust our plan to get it where we want it. And every surgeon does it a little differently. So let's go ahead and stress it in extension.
Extension. Okay. Excuse me. So I'm gonna be applying. So I'm gonna put the knee in extension approximately.
So you can
between
see what's
0
happening on the guidance app, right? The bones are moving because we now are tracking them. And we're tracking them with a pretty accurately. So
Okay, Ani, so what do you have now?
So I have the knee in extension. So we need to be within like 0 to 10 degrees of extension. And what I'm going to do right now is going to apply a valgus stress, which would mean the medial laxity is something that you want to capture. So on my go, maybe you can go ahead and capture. So I'm applying valgus stress to the knee.
All right, so you got 26 millimeters.
Yes.
I'm capturing that.
Okay.
Okay, and then lateral,
Okay. I'm going to apply varus stress here.
27. So that's good. I like about a millimeter looser on the lateral or outside of the knee than the inside. That's too big of a gap, so we'll fix that in a second. Well, let's go to flexion and see where we are there.
Okay.
So, Ani, you're going to do flexion a little differently than you did extension, right?
Yes, sir. So for flexion, because we can't necessarily apply valgus varus stresses, what we're going to do is use this device called a cob. It's frequently used in the OR, and what we're going to do is slip in between the medial aspect of the joint, and then I'll have you collect the medial laxity values. So I'm going to make sure first my flexion is in the range that we have set it out. So somewhere between 90 and 110 is where we need to be. So it's at 100, right smack in between. I'm going to gently insert the cob elevator. This is to make sure we capture the laxity of the soft tissue on the medial side. So I am ready here. Go ahead, capture.
Okay, so 25 is your max there?
Yes.
Okay.
26,
Oh,
yes.
20, you got 26.
Yes.
Okay, I got it. All right, let's do the lateral side. That looks nice. So 26 matches our extension.
Okay, I'm on the lateral side.
31, 32.
Okay.
So that's 31.
So I want it to be a little looser on the a couple millimeters, 2-3 millimeters looser laterally in flexion.
Sure.
So we're a little looser. So I'm going to tweak this now. First thing is our tibia needs to be resection is just too much. So I'm going to go ahead and take a couple millimeters out of the tibia, and let's see what that does. And I'm going to give you a little bit more varus. Now let's see what that does to our numbers there, Ani. So I took a couple millimeters out. Go ahead and re-stress us in flexion. 23, that's great.
Yeah, so right now what Ani's doing is he's using our device to tension the knee to exactly 150 newtons, which is what the literature suggests is the right tension. There's a lot of surgeon variability in how they stress the knee, so we want to take all of that out of this.
Ani's the hardest working man in orthopedics.
So this is why having a navigated robot is so important. You'll see us saying our robot is navigated, our robot is navigated. That just means we're tracking the femur and the tibia, and it allows us to do these types of assessments, which are critical for a patient to feel better.
Okay.
Okay, Ani. So you're
I'm
you're
in the
medial or lateral?
lateral right now.
Perfect. So you were like 22, 23. That's good. How about medial?
It's not actually as trivial as you would think to find these gaps. So these laxity gaps that you see right now, it's 17 on the screen and 22. How you actually measure those gaps is actually a little more challenging than might immediately meet the eye. You're basically trying to measure the distance of a curved surface to a flat surface, and it's not immediately intuitive where you should be measuring from. So some of these things have taken us quite a bit of effort to refine.
Okay. Medial?
Yes.
Okay, so you're like 20. That's perfect. So you're a little tighter inflection and extension than flexion. I think that's a pretty good plan, guys. So let's do it.
Sure. So now Doug is going to drive the robot with the foot pedal and make all of the bone cuts.
Say the word, Ani.
Okay, go ahead. Awesome.
Perfect. So you can see, so that's real time. The
So you can
robot's
see the
moving.
foot pedal there. So the surgeon can see on the right portion there of the guidance application, basically real time where the foot pedal is depressed. It's a variable speed.
So I'm at about 50% right now.
So you can see there's a cut path labeled 1. So that's going to be the first path that the robot goes on. We call them robot rails. And the robot moves back and forth along these robot rails. So Doug's going to come in at about 50%.
Looks like it's cutting okay from here. Ani, you looking good?
So
And I can see this is kind of like a GPS. It's very similar, so it's intuitive. Like I can see the routes that the saw is going to take.
Yep.
I can see the current route that it's on. I can see where the blade
sure,
is.
yeah.
The
So now it's a
virtual
number
blade.
2.
So now it's a number 2.
It's going to clean up that little bit of bone there.
And I can see where the next cut is going to be. So I can see cut number 3.
Look
I
at the
see where
blade
it's
edge
going.
too. So the blade edge is always inside of that bone boundary. We really are very, very conservative about hitting anything.
And I can, since I know where the bone is going to be, I can say, okay, well, I'm worried about some soft tissue. In a few seconds, I can move the retractors around
Exactly.
in anticipation of where the blade is going to be going. And
So
then
you have both hands free.
Yeah, if I was in the actual operation. So that's the.
So
Okay,
femur
so I'm going to pause for a
cut
quick
looks good.
second.
Guys, how does it look?
This looks good, almost like as it was planned.
Okay.
Almost like
Almost like it was planned.
Yeah.
It was planned. We spent a bit of time on that.
Okay, Ani, Ani's clearing a little bone chip out of there that we just cut, and I'm going to keep going. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right,
Sure.
so I'm depressing the foot pedal again. I'm a
So we're
little
going to
bit
do
of
the
a
anterior
lead foot,
chamfer
so I'm
cut.
trying not to do that, but so here it goes.
So we are the first, far as we're aware, active sagittal cutting robot. And this is very novel. The only other sagittal cutting robot is the Mako robot, which has about 90% utilization on the market today.
Okay, so here we go over to cut number 2, and I've got pedal on the metal until it hits bone, and I'm going to back off a little bit as it hits the bone, just to make sure it engages. Sometimes when a saw hits a round surface, it needs a little bit more time to get through it, but that looks great.
So there's a lot of sclerotic bone a lot of times there.
Yeah.
So we, as a safety, always do 2 passes,
This is kind of a little cleanup cut.
just a
here.
cleanup.
That looks amazing. And again, I would say, okay, so cut 4 is coming up. It's going to be a little closer to the patella. Ani, you're happy with the patella? It's safe, out of the way. So if I was
Yeah.
actually in the operating room, I would just eyeball it. Okay, make sure my
Take your time if
retractor's
you
there,
need to. Yep.
and that's it. Okay, so that's our chamfer cut.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like it was cut with a robot.
So let's be careful because he's got his hands in there.
Yep. Ani, I'm going to bring the robot around. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, here we go.
clear.
Coming around. So this is going to be our distal cut. And again, for that initial cut, I'm going to back off just a bit. Once it starts hitting bone, okay, backing off a bit. I'm at 50%. If I like it, it looks like the saw is getting through that, no problem. Now I can back up too. When I watch this, I'm gonna go ahead
So
and
guys,
back.
just a pinch me moment. Doug is controlling a robot 2,000 miles away in real time. He's registered the femur and tibia. He's planned the whole case, and now he's cutting it.
Yep.
And hopefully it's going to be a pretty accurate cut.
So for surgeons that are on, like if I was cutting this with my hand and I started hitting sclerotic bone, I might kind of feather it a little bit. Now
Yep.
watch this, I can do that from 2,000 miles away. Little sclerotic bone, I might kind of go a little bit slower, come back a bit and forward.
So the idea is if the surgeon, surgeon control of the end effector, if there's not something they don't like, it's immediately responsive.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's really, it looks like it's cutting very well here, which is nice.
Yep.
And these cut paths are optimized for safety, to stay, as Ben said, within the bone boundaries, away from critical soft tissues. But if we're nervous at all, if we think we're going to be close, we have our hands free. We have the ability to move retractors around as needed.
The
We know
surgeon's
where the saw's
free
going.
to pick the cut order as well. So,
Yep. There's nothing unpredictable about this. Everything is on the screen. It's showing you where the robot's going next. So
yeah. So right now, what's your velocity, Doug?
right now I'm at about 80% or so.
Okay.
And I can go pedal on the metal, but sometimes when it's getting through a lot of bone, I like to
Yeah,
back
this
off
is
a little
a pretty
bit.
deep cut.
Yep. But it looks great there. Perfect. And I'm going to go pedal to the metal until we get to the next one. And these cuts are just so amazing. I mean,
if you were doing this by hand, are these better than you would do by hand in terms of, yeah,
I would say so. I mean, they're machined basically.
yeah.
So, I mean, they're perfectly flat. And you'll see when we put the implant on, hopefully, that the trials are going to fit really nicely. Okay, Ani, you ready? I'm pausing
Yeah,
for a
let's just
second
pause. He's got
for a
his hand
safety
right
check. All good? You got all your fingers? Yeah. How many? Let me see your fingers, Ani. Okay, 9.
11.
Perfect.
So if we ever were to commercialize a fully remote system, we'd probably need to,
Yeah. We're not doing this tomorrow, folks. Okay, Ani, here we go for the next cut. So this is posterior chamfer. And looking good. Here we come.
Yeah, so just notice no blade change, no tool change. We can do all the cuts with one tool. There's been no repositioning of the patient or the robot.
Oh, this is beautiful. Now we could, in the future, we'll be able to switch between the saw blade and a rotary tool. So if we want to create features in the implant that use kind of organic features that fit into the bone, we can carve out structures into the bone that allow for really solid fixation of an uncemented implant by switching back and forth between the saw and the rotary tool. So that's built into the system. As Ben was saying earlier, it's really built for lots of different applications.
Yeah.
We're starting with knee, but this is built for every part of orthopedics, essentially.
And we should say we think the future is going to be 3D printed patient optimized implants.
Absolutely.
Period. So that's where robotics are going to really start to shine across the board, is when you reimagine what an implant looks like.
And that's why we're called Monogram. The original concept was take a robot, cut the bone in a personalized way for a specific implant that fits just that patient. And that's ultimately where we'd like to go. So that looks great. So that's our posterior chamfer cut.
So all the...
One more cut, Ani, safety check, you good?
Yeah, I'm just gonna get this bone chip off.
Okay,
before
I'm not
we-
moving it.
So we've named the robot, like Cameron said, it's the Emboss robot. Emboss. It looks cool when you see it. And the implants are Empress implants. So
I'm
gone with-
gonna wait for Ani to give me the thumbs
for
up.
people who are
Okay, let's
BMW
go.
M3,
Excuse
M5 type fans,
Okay,
it
here
looks
we
a
go.
lot like that.
All right, Ben, I'm engaging. We're going for the last cut here.
Okay.
Loving it. You see, Ani knew where the blade was going. He kind of
Doug, you got a lead foot going here.
pulled. Okay, I'm backing off. Don't get nervous. Okay, and here we go.
Just for the folks on the live stream, we can't really hear very well what's happening, so
Yeah, I
we're
can't hear
relying
this.
pretty heavily on the guidance application.
Okay, we're going to cut 2 here.
We should say too that our system has pretty sophisticated controls that are monitoring the feed rate. So the system is also responding to what it's sensing out of the bone.
I mean, that's a beauty. That's a nice cut. One last cleanup cut, and we're done with the femur.
I think this is a pinch me moment. I mean, we just did all 6 cuts. They look pretty good from here.
That looks machined. That looks absolutely perfect. Okay, let's go on to
So
the tibia.
we want, let's just for the audience, like let's get a close-up view of those cuts just to give a sense of the machine finish. Yeah, so maybe you can put something on there, Ani, to show how flat that cut is. That distal cut looks like it's basically a marble surface.
Yeah, and this is where we want to say again, the dramatic move in knee replacements is going from cemented, where you don't necessarily have to have a perfect fit. The cement forgives a lot of sins, to press fit, where you have to have a really tight fit so that the bone will kind of grow into the implant, no cement. And this is where robotics is really driving the orthopedics industry away from cement.
So Stryker has 70% of the press fit knee market today
because they have a robot.
Because they have a robot
Yep.
that's utilized.
Yeah. Cameron, you slowed this down because you knew I was going to be a lead foot, didn't you?
Looks good, Doug. Go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Ani, is that going through the same slot as it did before? Perfect. Perfect. So it's just picking up where we left off. So
we make 2 linear cuts and then we make a cleanup cut.
Yeah.
And that third cut, you'll see how it really does stay within the bone boundary. So what critical tissues would be over there, Doug?
Yeah, so it's the medial collateral ligament, posteromedially in the tibia, that we really want to avoid. Because if you cut that in half, the knee becomes unstable, and you can deal with it, but it's definitely not what you want. So that's nice. And this one's going straight across.
So I think it's the 5th cut path that avoids the patellar tendon.
Yes.
So
we'll show that. But this one does too. I mean, because again, we've identified a gate, which Cameron's going to talk about later, where the saw has to enter into that gate every time.
And just to make clear, that so the cut path is where the blade is actually going to go. It's as intuitive as trains on a track.
Here's the sexy cut here, Ben. This is going right along the anterior border.
Yep.
Now, somebody was asking about our competitors. That cut right there that you just saw is very hard to do with the other robots that are on the market. They just don't have the ability to make that turn.
Does that make you nervous when your residents are cutting?
Every time. It's taken years off my life. I mean, so, but that's it, guys. Here we go. We're finishing that up, and we're done.
Okay.
Beautiful, guys.
So all 6 cuts are done. Now Ani's going to take it off, and we're going to see whether we hit the target. It'll be obvious from the gaps, won't it?
Cut looks flat.
Okay. Maybe let's get in there with the camera and just give it a
Ani,
view.
can I take a look at that resected bone when you get it out? I'm just curious to see what it looks like. Because you can actually really tell, if you look at the actual bone that you cut out, you can see, does that correspond to the resection that I planned on this planning station, to give you an idea of how close you got.
Yeah. And just going back to the fundraise, right? So Monogram, this is again our last chance to invest in Monogram as a private company. After this, we're planning a listing on NASDAQ.
So Ani's got the tibial trial now. And let's externally rotate a bit, guys, if you can. If I can see the tubercle. That looks good. Maybe can you medialize it a little bit so it's not overhanging so much? Not rotate. The rotation was good. Just kind of translated a touch medial. That's it. That's it. Beautiful. Now we're going to actually, we have plan. Can I talk about the navigated implant placement?
Yeah, we filed
Yeah.
that.
So this is a step that we're trying to take the human error out of it. The position of this tibia is very important. So, and sometimes you can't see all the bone margins. So we're going to navigate this part of it,
Yeah.
so that you get it exactly where you need it to be.
Yeah, so we have, right now we have 20 patent filings, and we have a lot more that need to be filed.
Looks
So
looks
we're
real
already
good.
working on the next gen, which we think is
Let's do femur first. Yeah.
going to be very, very cool.
Okay, so we're going to go. You want to put a 10 in there now? Put a 10 spacer. Yeah, exactly.
This is good.
Yeah, no, I mean
DJ.
it depends on how much bone is left.
I mean, but you guys can see it on camera. It's these are glass finishes. They're
Yeah, let's get a close up of the femur particularly.
yeah.
That
Make
looked
sure,
like a
Daniel,
bit-
that they get up in there to see from the side view of how it looks. And
Can we see that? Because I would love to.
it's over here, I guess. Let's make sure the live stream is
I mean, that is sexy as hell, guys. I mean, I'm an orthopedic surgeon.
like
I'm
get
telling
in,
you,
get in even closer.
I would be
Get down,
absolutely orgasmic
down on the
if I had that.
down on the
cut.
level of it.
Okay, so let's go to full extension, Ani, if we could.
So now the surgeon's able to assess, are they happy with the outcome?
The patella.
Okay, that looks pretty straight, Ani. Let's stress it in extension here.
Okay.
Oh, mama.
Yeah, so
I'm
basically,
collecting that.
did it go exactly
That's
where
a
you wanted it?
hot- Yeah, how about lateral? Oh, doctor. Love it. Okay, let's go to extension.
It
I'm
is
sorry,
an
flexion.
okay.
So again, the way we planned this was to be just a shade looser on the lateral side than on the medial side, which is not how we've done knees, just because it's been hard to do that, but that's the way the human knee is built. We're a little looser on the outside than the inside. We're a little looser in flexion than extension. So let's see.
Did you check the flexion gaps?
You going to flexion, Ani?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's see how we do. Now we can recut too, it's worth saying. Like, let's say something's off with our plan, we didn't predict quite right. If we don't like this, we can always go back in and recut some bone to get it where we need it to be. Okay, 23, love it. Okay.
So does this tell you, Doug, that we basically put it exactly where you planned
Exactly. Let's see what lateral is.
Lateral?
Hopefully we're like 25, 26.
There it is, 26.
Oh, mama. Mama. Hold on.
it? There it is. So basically, perfect knee 2,000 miles away. Is
I
that
mean, that
the
is
headline
hot,
here?
guys. That is a native knee.
So let's get the video camera right over and just show how the knee tracks, so everybody gets a sense of that. Yeah. So. Yep.
Yep, and yeah, as you go through your motion, Ani, varus valgus it.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah, it
any
looks-
there much
it looks
play
just-
as you go varus valgus. We might want to go up a shade. We might want to go up a millimeter or two on our plastic, but
And in full extension, it's all straight.
Yeah, so I feel equal laxity in extension, like even valgus varus, none of
Perfect.
them seem too tight or too loose.
yeah,
And then in the same way in flexion, I'm having similar.
it's beautiful. Now
So-
let's check our patellar tracking, Ani, because that's the last thing. Is that if you've
I
done
think it's
everything right.
safe to say, guys, I think we need to clap right now.
go
We just made history. Yes.
Here's the patella tracking all along the femoral component.
That looks pretty good, Ani. How's that patella? Is it staying pretty centered?
Yes.
That's beautiful. I mean, just to reiterate, guys, this is not easy to do and near impossible to do with manual instruments, but we were able to make it. So again, and our gaps in extension were 22 millimeters medial, 24 lateral. And in flexion, 24 medial and 26 lateral, which is really close to the kind of the way a normal knee is. And that's amazing. that we can do. That's a brand new tool that we now have to make knees to take them to the next level as far as what the patients feel, which is what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Not what the
exactly.
x-rays look like or whatever, but how do the patients feel with this, and what are the complication rates? So like, how many times are you cutting the medial collateral ligament or things that you don't want to cut? You know, we're decreasing the risk and increasing the number of kind of bullseye, you know, balanced knees. So pretty amazing, guys. I really, you know, we had some hiccups with the registration, but really pretty good.
I would say Doug's happy. This is, guys, I just want to say thank you to the team. You know, as a management team, we expect a lot out of you and put everybody under a lot of pressure. And could not be more proud of what was accomplished today. This was a massive achievement. What you saw today is a fully remote surgery done by a highly trained surgeon with no issues executing a perfect knee.
There's no other system.
I don't know how else we can demonstrate how robust the system is, how differentiated it is. We get a lot of questions, you know, how are you different than the state of the art? The state of the art can't do this, period. We are, maybe they can, and we, you know, haven't done it live streamed, but yeah.
Look at this on here. He barely could get the trial implant off of that femur because it is so tight on there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So again, if you want to be a part of Monogram, you can be. Let me say, you know, we're not the traditional like Silicon Valley funded startup. We're crowdfunded. We're proud of our roots. We're proud that we're crowdfunded. We embrace it. We're not ashamed to be. We're proud of our investors, and there's only one more chance as a private company to invest in Monogram. Just go to our website if you want to support us. If you like what our company is about, what we're trying to do, it's really easy. So why is teleop important? So really, there's a number of things that are demonstrated today. Like, one is just Monogram clearly demonstrated today what's different about our system, period. Is there any other system on the market that could do this?
So if you tried to do what we just did with a surgeon kind of watching, but whoever's maybe not trained in the operating room, running the robot and driving the robot with the leading haptic system, you'd get into trouble.
Yeah.
You would cut
You
stuff
could cut
that you
patella
don't want.
tendon.
Yeah, you'd get into potential trouble. We're trying to demonstrate the robustness of the safety here, that you don't even need a surgeon driving the robot in the same room.
We're not going to talk about all the applications we envision for the future. We have many applications we're thinking about. But this also, just folks watching, get creative. What could you do with a system that was this robust, capable of doing surgery in this way, right? Think about how that compares to the current state of the art, where the market's going. What does the robot of the future need to be capable of doing, and did we demonstrate it today? I think that's the question people should ask themselves. It's not as much about teleop surgery, although we will say that one of the most successful medical device robots in the world, the Da Vinci robot, originally was intended to be a teleop robot. Look where they are today, and just think about what the value add is of a system this robust.
Good job.
Sanath? Yeah.
All right.
So, yes, thanks everybody for joining us. Any parting words?
I mean, I'm just relieved. I have, you know, I get nervous for this kind of thing, but it went great. So proud of everybody. Thanks for everybody's hard work.
Thanks everybody on Austin
in.
side. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed yourselves. The next live stream is going to be even crazier.
Oh man.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Thank you.